An evil spirit bearing the evil spirit of one wartime Japanese warrior is suddenly awakened by the group of grave diggers. He strangles the man and stabs him deep in the stomach, vowing to behead everyone who sets foot on the land he rules. The group includes feng shui master Sang-dak, how shaman Wa-rim and Bong-gil and funeral staff Young Jun will face this evil spirit. How the story of hundreds of years ago will be unfolded. Let's follow the drama to know how this horror story unfolds. On one flight, Bong-gil and Wa-rim are in the process of moving from Korea to the US. Their client this time is a famous real estate owner who owns a lot of land and one bottomless pocket of money. The newborn child of that family from birth does not stop tearing up, so the case goes to Wa-rim and Bong-gil. By reciting mantras and examining pupils, Wa-rim determined that there were people in the house who had the same condition as the child's father or grandfather. Returning to the lavish mansion of the rich family, the father Park Ji-young introduces himself and tells about the suicide of one man in this clan, from which strange signs appear such as illusions or bloody hands. Of course, these are all in Wa-rim's prediction. The solution is only one: is to spend money for their team to intervene. The scene moves to two middle-aged men, Sang-dak, Young Jun, performing grave-digging rituals. Young Jun took the opportunity to open the coffin with some precious jewelry. Sang-dak is a famous feng shui artist in the profession, so just looking through the body found that one part was taken. It turned out that the biological grandson in the family wanted to keep her memorabilia, immediately hid the false tooth that surprised everyone. After the last mission, Sang-dak and Young Jun returned to eat and drink for a while to relieve their spirits. At this time, Wa-rim and Bong-gil also arrived to meet the two of them again after 3 years of separation. Wa-rim told about this mission is to remove the 100-year-old tomb in Park Ji-young's family. Hearing about the position of the owner, of course two uncles can refuse the offer. Wa-rim thinks that this is not a soul possession but a phenomenon called grave calling. Park Ji-young's mother thinks that her son is doing too much if he digs his grandfather's grave. She thought that just persistent treatment would cure the baby's disease. But Ji-young's eyes did not approve of it. The very next morning, Sang-dak had a meeting with Ji-young. The hurried attitude of wanting to cremate the owner's tomb made Sang-dak very surprised. He thought that he had to excavate the tomb to check and then complete the procedure. The reason Ji-young rushed was because the whole family was opposed to this, so he wanted to finish it quickly. Sang-dak ran out of words but insisted on excavating the tomb first to search. The next morning, the group of 4 people with Ji-young led the way to climb one peak of the mountain. Wa-rim also encountered foxes also loitering recently. The tomb is located in a very strange position because Sang-dak has never seen any school on the top of the mountain before. Similarly, Sang-dak tasted a bit of soil and went to scout around. He found that there was no name of the dead on the stele and asked Ji-young about the origin of the land. He said that when there was a monk who helped his father find this land, since his grandfather had been instrumental in the country, his father was delighted to have chosen a prime location, but at that time, there was also a rampant tomb theft, so the monk decided not to put his name on the tombstone and not to build too grandiosely. Hearing Ji-young, Sang-dak's explanation was wistful. Thinking one time he decided not to take this case anymore. Surprised everyone, putting in the car. He began to explain to them the reason for refusal. This land, according to Sang-dak's perception, has a very strong aura, not to mention that foxes and tombstones are carved together. But recently there are foxes, bad omens continuously overlapping each other, making him feel that if he gets involved here, there will be many casualties. Back at Ji-young's place, Wa-rim and Sang-dak meet the rich man privately to talk. Sang-dak talks about his soon-to-be married daughter. He seems very proud when she studied aerospace. Ji-young also showed him a picture of his son when he was born and the only smile on his lips ever. Understanding that the father desperately wanted to save his son, but Sang-dak emphasized that the mining of the tomb was too dangerous. He asked Ji-young if there was anything hidden from him because he noticed that behind the stele there was an absolute correct latitude and longitude. According to him, the fact that the monk with the name Gizyun did not choose the land at random. Ji-young still insists that she does not hide it, causing Sang-dak to run out of words. Wa-rim proposes to perform a soul prayer ceremony as soon as she leaves the tomb. This, although the probability of success is low, but in theory it is not impossible. Her adamant attitude to save the child makes the old man balk and reluctantly agree to proceed excavation process. The soul prayer ceremony is a ritual of transferring bad luck from one object to another. It will take 5 pig men and 5 pig heads to participate in the ritual. 5 men will excavate the tomb so that the dark spirit escapes and then infuses it into the pigs' heads. The uncle and sister of Ji-young's father also knows the story and comes to the place to witness the ritual. After one series of Young Jun's mantras and the drum ceremony is officially started, Hwa-rim stood in the middle of the circle dancing to the beat of Bong-gil's drums. After reeling one time, she started cutting into the hanging pigs' bodies with a knife. Then Hwa-rim smeared a mixture of something black on her mouth and painted black ink marks on her face. Ji-young, as the head of the house, gestured, and then the 5 men began to dig continuously into the ground. The ritual took place for one time when the tomb began to appear, signaling for the drum beats of Bong-gil to subside. At this time, Sang-dok and Young-jun will perform the task of inspecting the grave. The air welding here is very heavy, along with the evidence that has faded over time. Sang-dok noticed something unusual that caught his eye on Ji-young's uncle. Young-jun discovered that the wood of the coffin was incense wood, only used to build coffins for kings or people in the royal family in the past. The coffin was lifted and stored in the trunk of the car to be taken to the cremation place immediately. Sang-dok told Young-jun to be kind because the person in the coffin when he died was not solemnly shrouded. One of the 5 men digging the grave earlier was trying to search around the land to see if there was anything valuable. Suddenly he discovered one snake with a head with very strange and frightening hair crawling up from the ground. Without hesitation, the man used a shovel to chop the snake's body in half, causing it to scream one echo of the sky. Dark clouds began to come to cover the whole sky. And Hwa-rim also noticed something unusual. Immediately a rainstorm came, causing the cremation to be postponed. Sang-dok explains to Ji-young that if cremated when it rains, the dead will not reach a good place. The owner is willing to follow his opinion to put the coffin in a nearby acquaintance's hospital for the night. After Young-jun bribes the hospital owner one little money so that the coffin will not be searched, he and Sang-dok took it to the autopsy room for preservation. Then Sang-dok went out along the road, turning into the road with the sign One Temple. He met one strange monk living in the temple and asked about the alias Gizyun as well as the unnamed tomb on the top of the mountain. The monk recounted the mystery of that tomb. When it was rumored that the person in it was the richest official of the Joseon period or possibly a member of the royal family. It was because of these rumors that many thieves targeted the tomb to find a great fortune. But none succeeded in excavating and all were punished or exiled to the north. The monk shows Sang-dok the artifacts left by the tomb thieves after their disappearance, and they are metal bars. At the same time that the hospital owner, when Young-jun goes out for lunch, sneaks in and tries to open the lid of the coffin, thinking that there is treasure in it. When Bong-gil and Hwa-rim arrived where the lid had opened and one aura escaped and knocked the Hwa-rim unconscious. The pale-faced Pry ran away immediately and Bong-gil took his colleague to the hospital. The evil spirit, after escaping, went out to seek his bloodline for revenge. Ji-young's father, hearing the familiar call, automatically opened the balcony door so that the spirit could enter the house and kill. His wife also did not escape the tribulation while dancing and was murdered by the callous demon. Ji-young had just woken up from a strange nightmare. In a dream he was soaking in the bathroom when suddenly one face appeared threatening Ji-young to startle him awake. Hwa-rim and Bong-gil then perform a soul invocation ritual to call on the resentful soul to enter Bong-gil's body. A series of mantras are chanted, after which Bong-gil is possessed by the spirit itself. Young-jun holds him back with ropes and Hwa-rim constantly questions about the identity of the demon inside. However, Bong-gil suddenly vomited blood and then woke up, causing Hwa-rim to realize that the soul had been released and flew away. Sang-dok was on his way to Ji-young's place to save him from suffering the same fate. He called Ji-young to inform him that the lid of the coffin had opened, causing him to start sweating in panic. Immediately one call outside the door claiming to be Sang-dok asked to open the door, causing Ji-young to lie. Sang-dok on the phone asked him to stay away from the windows and the main door, but it was too late when Ji-young grabbed the window open. When Sang-dok arrived, he found Ji-young standing still as if possessed. Ji-young raised his hand and started acting like a Japanese warrior, uttering words like old war promoters. Then he vomited blood and started strange expressions that frightened the nearby receptionist. After a series of strange behaviors, Ji-young drank water continuously and muttered in his mouth the phrase, "The fox bit off the tiger's waist." Then Ji-young's head turned 90 degrees backwards, causing Sang-dok to lose his mind and fall. The condition of the baby Joseph in America has improved. Young-jun calls the crematorium to ask for an emergency in the night. Despite their discouragement, Sang-dok is worried that the newborn baby will be the next target of the hateful spirit, but the scene unable to contact his family. Ji-young's uncle received a call from Sang-dok's side. He asked her to allow the crematorium to burn the crematorium as soon as possible because the baby was in danger. At Joseph's place he saw a glimpse of a man and the boy's heart rate began to rise. After one moment of hesitation, the girl agreed to be cremated and the coffin was put into the furnace immediately. The evil spirit began to show pain, stopping his hand, causing young Joseph to escape one lifetime. But Ji Yong was not so lucky when he took his last breath in the ambulance in front of him. Quieting down for some time after the incident subsided, Sang-dok returned to the residence of the gravedigger who killed the snake. He said that he himself from that fateful day had been eating and sleeping restlessly, constantly having nightmares and showing strange signs. He begged Sang-dok to go and pray for the snake to be freed to free his condition. With inherent disbelief, Sang-dok decided to go to the tomb again to find out the truth of the matter. He climbed to the top of the mountain in the open field near the foxes and began to till the soil up. After one time, Sang-dok discovered one human head but very small size like a snake's head. He also discovered one more coffin buried vertically deep underground. It seems that this is a mourning phenomenon when this place is the same place but buries two bodies. Sang-dok immediately informed them all to everyone's surprise. Hwa-rim went to the place to check for one time and told the group not to interfere in this case. But as a feng shui master, Sang-dok still insisted on pulling this coffin up. There was no other way for the group to tie the rope in. But the weight inside the coffin was quite heavy, making the process very difficult. Because of the emergency, Sang-dok asked the monk the previous day to let them stay overnight and temporarily leave the coffin waiting for the owner to arrive. Hwa-rim knew that what was inside was not something good, so she asked the master for some sticky rice sprinkled around along with horse blood as a charm. When Sang-dok's uncle arrived, Sang-dok asked her for information about the coffin, but her grandmother didn't know anything or why it was buried there. Sang-dok revealed that the information on the tombstone was the name of the vice president of the Central Committee, Park Jun-yun, who was also her father. He betrayed his country to join the Japanese and became very famous, saying that her grandmother could not stand it anymore. Interrupted, she confessed that she knew it but had no further information, then pulled out a photo of the old time among Japanese soldiers and revealed that the monk alias Gizyun was not Korean, it was Japanese. His name was Junji Murayama, who knew every corner of the Joseon period well. But she could not understand why he wanted to bury the person who had been loyal to the Japanese side in such an evil position. After explaining everything about her grandmother's departure, promising to pay the full cost of the tomb and asking them all to hurry handling the other coffin, the group decides to eat and drink to regain their spirits, then will quickly handle the incident before sunrise. After a full cup, everyone falls asleep and Hwa-rim calls an acquaintance to learn more about the character named Murayama. Through her narrative, she learns that this is a mage with terrible powers in the form of a glass lake. Bong-gil, who was sleeping, suddenly felt a throbbing sensation in his stomach. He woke up to find the monk stepping on his body and constantly muttering strange words like someone took away his clothes and organs. He woke up and found that it was just a dream. Bong-gil got up to go outside to find the warehouse locked. He heard the sound of a nearby pigsty approaching to find the pigs being eaten alive by one monster. The monk had been brutally murdered since he didn't know. Too panicked, Bong-gil called Hwa-rim to wake up and then the two burst into the shed. Then both of them were surprised to see that the coffin had been opened and the roof had a large hole that was most likely caused by what was inside the coffin. Bong-gil insisted that what escaped from the coffin was the creature he had seen in the coffin earlier, Pig. Hwa-rim asked the guy to go and call everyone up, and she approached the coffin. From inside she took out a hat like the hat of a Japanese wartime warrior. Suddenly Hwa-rim realized that someone was approaching her. This large creature spoke inside in Japanese, asking if she was human. Hwa-rim was frightened but quick to reply in Japanese that she was just a servant of her master. He continued to inquire if the fish and melon were prepared. Hwa-rim tentatively said that he would go and prepare immediately, making him angry. Through the hole the big demon realized that inside was one human. Hwa-rim ran out in panic when Bong-gil rushed forward and stabbed the demon with a stick, but his armor was too thick. He was immediately lifted up by him. Then the warrior demon stabbed Bong-gil in the middle of Bong-gil's stomach in the presence of Hwa-rim. Then he walked towards Hwa-rim about to deal with it when he saw the pillar next to him and realized that this was a temple. The demon chanted the mantra one time and then turned his whole body into a fireball and flew into the air. Sang-dok and Young Jun also go outside to witness the terrifying scene. Both of them now have countless hallucinations because the demon's mantra is always in their ears. When the fireball flies away, Hwa-rim calms down and walks towards the bubble gill and Sang-dok and Young Jun as if they lose their minds and cannot perceive the situation. The next morning Bong-gil was taken to the hospital for treatment. The media reported that last night's incident was only one attack by wild bears that injured two people. Sang-dok deeply regretted dragging Bong-gil and Hwa-rim into this incident and then led to the current situation. Hwa-rim also repented for not being able to save Bong-gil from the evil one. She revealed that the creature was not a mere soul. It was an evil spirit with both human souls and objects that had evolved to this extent. The body was a mage, but Hwa-rim could not feel the identity or any of the characteristics of this evil spirit. The doctor returned outside to tell him that Bong Gil was seriously injured in the abdomen, so he had to be transferred to the upper line for treatment. Sang-dok remembered Ji Yong's saying before he died that the fox bit off the tiger's waist. He drove back to the ancient temple and searched through the memorabilia of tomb thieves and discovered the photo of the group of people claiming to be iron blood type. At the hospital, Hwa Rim called 2 more friends to support her because she decided to perform one ritual right here. Due to doubts in her heart, Sang-dok decided to go to the 2 buried graves to dig. After chanting the mantra of 3, Bong Gil women gradually reacted, but he regained consciousness as the servant of the evil spirit. So his mouth kept muttering in Japanese about the greatness of his master. Hwa Rim asked for a specific location, and Bong Gil read out a series of places about latitude-longitude as inscribed on the tombstone. Sang-dok, after one diligent digging, has found one thing that terrifies him. At the place where the gravestone of the evil spirit who once buried his body resides here, but it seems that Sang-dok has not woken him up. He returned with still trembling. It turned out that the saying that the fox bit the tiger's waist had a very deep meaning. The monk Murayama represented the fox and the burial ground of 2 tombstones shaped like one tiger. The location of 2 coffins was like the waist of the tiger, and Murayama had planted one stake just like the saying goes. The fox bit the tiger's waist. As for the evil spirit who resides there to protect the stake so that no one can find it, Murayama wants to hide the plan. So he buries Ji Yong's father on top to hide the eyes of the world. The people in the photo that Sang-dok found are the same people who searched for the demon tomb in the past but so far have not succeeded. Sang-dok wants Hwa Rim to help him this time uproot the stake to rescue Bong Gil as well as the land that his descendants will later inhabit. Young Jun is afraid because he does not want to get involved with one demon with extraordinary power. But under persuasion he agrees to carry out the plan. Hwa Rim said that the evil spirit would cut everyone close, so it seemed impossible to destroy him. But she agreed to buy time to attract him so that Sang-dok could find the spit stake. Hwa Ri also realized that the evil spirit avoided the Buddhist scripture tattoos on Bong Gil's body. So the next morning all 3 drew charms on their faces and brought one little incense fish to carry out the plan. Reached the top of Sang-dok mountain, and Young Jun scattered incense fish on the road in the direction of the forest in front of the ancient tree to lure the evil spirit and perform rituals. Hwa thought that she would try to buy time for 30 minutes to let the 2 quickly pull up the iron stake and tell them to shed horse blood after they were done. She also asked 2 friends to take care of Bong Gil in case something unexpected happened. All 3 of them patiently waited for night to fall. Everyone felt worried about this fight. Now that the ox is done and the evil spirit starts to put on the grave of life, he picks up the scattered incense fish one by one and walks towards Hwa Rim. The Bong Gil side also has the same reaction as if he is chewing something. Sang-dok and Young Jun start the search for the iron stake as soon as the evil spirit leaves. Hwa Rim, disguised as a god hiding behind the shade of an ancient tree to interrogate the demon about his identity. He confesses that he was buried here by the fox and that the mission now is to protect this land at all costs. Despite Hwa Rim's request that he leave because the war is over, the evil spirit constantly asserts him had to continue killing because he was the god of war. On Sang-dok's side, he dug until he broke the shovel and still couldn't find the stake. The evil spirit recognized Hwa Rim as a human coming towards her, causing her to tremble unsteadily. At this time there was one spirit behind Hwa Rim's grandmother who always accompanied her to stop the evil spirit. He was angry and could not act and turned into a fireball flying towards where Sang-dok was digging to find the stake. He was so hypnotized as the last time he witnessed this scene that he was not aware of anything. The evil spirit asked Sang-dok if he wanted to be his subordinate. Without hearing the answer, he was lifted by him. Just then the demon put his hand into Sang-dok's stomach to take his liver. Hwa Rim immediately poured horse blood on the evil spirit, causing him to give up in pain, and Bong Gil, he screamed frantically. She and Young Jun rushed down to her uncle when she was lifted by the demon so that the 2 could not resist. Sang-dok weakly realized that the iron stake he was looking for was the demon in front of him, for when the coffin was buried vertically and the souls of objects and people had merged into one, he crawled up and tried to reach for the wooden stick and stabbed the evil spirit in front of him, who was a feng shui master, so he understood that wet wood would carve burning iron. So Sang-dok smeared more blood on the wooden stick to attack. The evil spirit showed great pain after each fatal slash. Sang-dok took it down with the last shot, causing the evil spirit to split in half, then collapsed immediately. On Bong Gil's side, he also spat out black blood, proving that the evil spirit had escaped him. Sang-dok was taken to the emergency room soon after in Hwa's restless nervousness. Rim and Young Jun. Fortunately, the surgery was successful. After a while, Sang-dok and Bong Gil also gradually recovered. The authorities still covered up everything with the fact that one wild bear was captured to attract public attention. Daily life returned to everyone. Bom-gil and Hwa-rim continued to perform exorcism rituals together. Young Jun returns to perform shrouds for departed souls. Sang-dok as a feng shui master continued his work although the abdominal wound was still bleeding. He fulfilled his wish to attend his daughter's wedding ceremony and took one photo with his teammates.